Hi, this is Christopher Sims here. People know me as Christopher Sims, a photographer, or Christopher George, creative director. I'm here on behalf of Becky and Fashion Productions because she asked me if I would do a podcast for you. So I've been thinking about it for a few days, and one of the problems we all suffer with is overthinking on our thoughts. And then I came to the belief that I'm not really here to do a podcast on my professional background and fashion photography or creative direction at this moment. I thought I just wanted to do something that was honest, upfront, and not organised. So I'm just here to talk of how I'm feeling, where we are in this situation, and hopefully give some positive energy out there for the community. A lot of us are freelancers, and if anything that's positive about being a freelance, we are a bit used to being isolated and a bit used to being unsure of our next move with where we're working. Unfortunately, we are now all unemployed, which is a first. And we're blessed to have key workers that are still working to keep us safe as best possible. But I wanted to talk really on just the situation that we're all in and trying to find some mindfulness for the times that we're being presented with. We're all being isolated now, not just because we're freelancers or we work at home a lot, but because we've been told to isolate, and it's going to be difficult for a lot of people, especially if you're living alone. Fortunately, I have a partner and a wonderful furry baby, my dog Tommy, so I have the company. But on a personal level, this has been a very, very strange situation for me, as it is for everybody. But I've arrived at this point in self-isolation 2 weeks ago because we were suggested and we were told to do this over what has really been a 4-year process for me, because 4 years ago I actually had a nervous breakdown from historical reasons, from getting to a certain age, family, the political climate that we were in and have been for a long time. And one of the things is thinking, overthinking, overanalyzing. And it became a real serious problem for me for a long time. I got to the point it was very hard for me to move in this world. It was hard for me to put a smile on my face. It was so false. I was deeply unhappy, didn't really have any reasons. I have a great life, I have a great partner, I have great friends who I adore, my chosen family. But I just was not coping in this world. And I chose to go into therapy. I chose to have a breakdown and accept a breakdown. Now, this isn't a miserable podcast at all. Far from it. I'm extremely blessed where I am in this world and who I am as a person. But that 4-year process was me having to reevaluate everything in my life. Everything, everybody. The biggest reevaluation was myself. So coming to this point a few weeks ago with self-isolation, it is something that I had been building up on over the last 4 years through therapy, through extensive reading on psychology, on spirituality, on self-help books. Now, those 3 topics, psychology, incredibly helpful to have an understanding of psychology of the human mind. Spirituality, this is everybody's individual journey, and people take individual approaches and individual beliefs. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I have always been, for the last 25 years, been curious, drawn in the back of my mind to Buddhism. When I started therapy, it was under the Carl Jung theory of psychology. and therapy. So it was part of what my journey had already been. But I really did start to embrace spirituality and Buddhism as something that has been a huge help to me on a daily basis. Self-help, the third topic I said on books, it gets such a negative press about that self-help term. In retrospect, after my 4-year process, I find it really funny that we have this term self-help being negative, because we are all just trying to get through this life productively, happily, peacefully, and you have to do this with helping yourself. So the term self-help, for anybody that's interested in reading or maybe finding difficulty, is not a negative term. It is something that the press give it negative connotations. But it's not negative. We have to get over this. So reading in that kind of those topics, which I have done for 4 years, and I've constantly got a book within those realms on the go. I've probably read 20 books in the last year and a half. I'm obsessed with it. It's a real way to keep my mind focused and to get over the blocks of overthinking, over-analysing situations. So people that are especially that are on their own at the moment, quite isolated, it's a real difficult time for them, as it is going to be people that live with people, because, relationships can get fractured if you are not fundamentally, and this is probably the most important thing that I've learned, not just on my journey over the last 4 years, but on my journey of this life that I'm having, is mindfulness, awareness on a momentary level of how I am treating myself. Fundamentally, the most important thing I've ever learned is momentarily awareness of how I am behaving and treating myself. As soon as I had the ability on a momentary level to be aware of how I was treating myself, I then had the ability to understand how I was then treating other people. Now, I can be a difficult character. It is known. I can be moody, I can be verbally aggressive, I can be very short-tempered. These are all items I've had to come to understand. Fundamentally, they are how I have been treating myself over several years, over many years. Critical, aggressive towards myself, over-analytical, judgmental. Now, all these things, I had no awareness of what I was doing. It wasn't only that I was doing this to myself, but once you start doing these items to yourself, you then inevitably start doing it to other people. So if you can find awareness of how you're treating yourself, and it can be done, I am the proof, but it takes a lot of practice. Once you are aware of how you are treating yourself, you then become aware of how you're treating each other and other people. This was the biggest breakthrough in my life, of my journey. I'm a human being. I get angry. I get angry with myself. I get angry with other people. I get angry with people I don't know. I get angry with people on the TV. It's just something that we do as humans. But I really have the ability now to be aware of that anger or that frustration or that melancholy or maybe that slight tinge of depression. And as soon as I have awareness of this, it falls to the background. It disappears. Or I just carry that around for a couple of hours. I try to understand where the relationship of that kind of anxiety has stemmed from in the last day or two. And I inevitably find it. I inevitably clear that, and I come back to awareness on a momentary level of how I'm treating myself, and I move on with my day very casually and very comfortably. I'm extremely blessed in this world. And the only reason I'm extremely blessed in this world is the journey that I've been on the last X amount of years. I'm not going to divulge my age, but really probably the most important years of my life were the last 4 when I had a nervous breakdown and I completely reevaluated myself. Now at the moment, we're all having to take a reevaluation on our careers, on our finances, on where we go from here. But the most important thing that we have to control and be aware of is our physical health, obviously. So we have to stay at home. We have to keep clear of people. Our mental health, it's connected with so many other items in our word. Our physical health, our careers, our communication with other people. This is a really, really great time with this isolation. And isolation is not a negative word. It's a time to be mindful. It's a time to discover oneself. A lot of that discovery is uncomfortable, but on understanding and being aware of that uncomfortable items that we have been carrying around with us, we then get the chance to unpack them and to let them go. Once you understand something, you have the ability to dissolve it. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to pop back, come into your life as some kind of emotion or some feeling. But once we have understood it and we've dissolved it, when it pops up again, we have an understanding to face it. We can fall behind it, view it, rather than getting involved with the thought process and over-analysing something that is fundamentally a thought and a feeling. These thoughts, these feelings are not physical. They are often conjured up in our minds from historical items that we then play on us and become demons. This is a great time for us to try and move forward spiritually, with our soul and with our faith in where we can be as people to better the climate that we live in and the world that we live in. It's a really incredible time. It's a blessed time we are in, even though it's very difficult for a lot of people and for ourselves. We have to find some positivity in where we are at the moment. So I'm sure there's time for lots of chats of professional activities. Myself, as a creative director, photographer, I would love to give some information out there. But at the moment, I wanted to start this off with fashion productions, just something that was heartfelt, some communication with everybody out there, rather than jumping straight into a professional scenario when at this particular moment, I'm not feeling like that's the most important thing to be talking about. So I will leave it here at the moment. Stay in. Blessed to everybody. Try and focus on self-awareness and some mindful space at this time. Peace.